welcome to a very special show, Livestream, where you, the viewer, gets to ask the questions, send us your feedback and comments on issues that matter to you the most. On the show today, we are discussing what exactly is the meaning of fake news. How do we differentiate fact from fiction? Are mainstream journalists easy fall guys for creating fake news at a time when social media has become all pervasive and from any person sitting in a cyber cafe to you and me can create news? So the question we are asking, fake news, knowing fact from fiction, what you, the viewer, must know. So you can send us your feedback, your comments on that number flashing on your screens. And in fact, joining us on the show tonight to answer some of your questions is Prateek Sinha, co-founder of Alt News, and Shivam Singh, who is with the India Foundation. Thank you both for joining us for this very interesting discussion on fake news. But before I get you in on comments, I do want to hear from viewers, and my colleague Alok Pandey actually sent us some views from Lucknow. Let's listen in.
Well, I think fake news or the perception of it is something that affects us all. And I'm at a middle-class locality here in Lucknow's Indira Nagar, and I'm going to speak to this set of people here. Why am I here? I think I'm here because ultimately fake news and its consumption, the largest segment in our society perhaps that is involved in WhatsApp groups, on social media, on Facebook, is the middle class. And that is why I'm here to speak to these gentlemen and to the lady here and ask them about their perception. I'm going to speak to this gentleman here, sir. He's a retired banker. Sir, what's your name?
Anil Upadhyay.
You told me that you are active on these WhatsApp groups. You're also active on social media. You write a blog too. Yeah. Tell me about your ability to differentiate, especially in the last some time, between real news and fake news. And what do you think of this? Do you think there's more of fake news that's being peddled around in these social mediums, or do you think it's still an informative medium that you can use?
Well, I use social media mostly to communicate with my friends, to joke, and it's more of a jovial communication. But then I did notice that if you receive a certain mail which is having a political message, and if you like it or if you forward it as they ask you to do, then suddenly you get a barrage of such communications. This happens both on WhatsApp, also happens on Facebook. Fake news, I don't really think that fake news is happening on the media, whether it is electronic media or print media. Yes, they may be divided in camps. So somebody may be pro-government, somebody may be against the government. But I believe media has institutional arrangements which ensure that they are not going to report anything which is patently false. This is happening more on the social media.
Siddiqui Saab, I was just discussing with you also that 2 days ago there was a notification from the Ministry of Information Broadcasting that effectively sought to censure journalists for fake news or whatever. And it was withdrawn by the Prime Minister after a lot of outrage. What are your views on this, sir? आप क्या सोचते हैं?
बेसिकली मेरा तो ये कहना होगा कि मीडिया और ये स्पेशली दिस टेलीविज़न एंड दिस थिंग्स ये काफ़ी कुछ देश के बारे में सेवा कर सकते हैं, बहुत अच्छी सेवा कर सकते हैं. अब देखिए, आई वाज सरप्राइज कि भाई ये कैसे हो सकता है आफ्टर ऑल कि कोई भी जो डिसीजन गवर्नमेंट में लिए जाते हैं वो काफ़ी सोच विचार के बाद लिए जाते हैं. और वंस गवर्नमेंट हैज़ टेकन ए डिसीजन तो उसको वापस लेने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. एंड स्पेशली एट सच ए शॉर्ट नोटिस.
मैम, आप भी बता रही थी कि आपके पास बहुत सारी ये फेसबुक पोस्ट्स आती हैं, बहुत सारे आपको लगता है कि ये फेक है, गलत है, तो उस संदर्भ में आप क्या कर पाती हैं? कुछ उसको फ्लैग कर पाती है, नहीं कर पाती?
नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं करती हूँ, बस आगे मैं बढ़ा देती हूँ कि भाई मुझे नहीं सही लगता है, आपको अगर सही लगता है तो आप आगे बढ़ाइए. लेकिन मैं दो लाइन गवर्नमेंट से कहना चाह रही हूँ. इतना मार काट जो अपने देश में हो रहा है, इसको प्लीज़ कृपया बंद किया जाए. ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. हिंदू मुस्लिम. और
इसमें ये व्हाट्सएप, फेसबुक, इसका क्या रोल मानती हैं?
इसका बहुत बड़ा रोल है, बहुत बड़ा रोल है. गलत अफवाहें लिख देते हैं, गलत अफवाहें फैलाते हैं, उससे हमारे वहाँ और मारपीट हो रही है.
जी.
इसको बंद होना चाहिए.
All right, let's take some of those questions to our guest Prateek Sinha as well as Shivam Singh. Prateek Sinha, the first gentleman in that, that pre-rec that we did with our guests there, said that there are not so many problems with mainstream media. There are institutional systems in place, but it's the social media that's the worrisome area, particularly WhatsApp. And all of us have faced this. The fact that I get 100 WhatsApps a day, which supposedly are news sort of news flashes about what the army chief said or so and so said, but they're not real news. So how does the common man actually differentiate, because they're not watching news the way you and I are probably, people in the news business are?
Well, firstly, I slightly disagree with the gentleman. It's not that there aren't issues with mainstream media. There are actually, the competitive nature of the business has thrown fact-checking out of the window, and multiple channels have made these mistakes again and again, mistakes which could have easily been avoided. But the difference is that it does not always come from a position of malice. I mean, usually it doesn't come from a position of malice. The kind of misinformation that is propagated on mainstream media, but on social media, especially the Hindu-Muslim kind of fake news that is propagated on social media, it is often from a position of malice. So that is what the difference is. And yes, it is true that WhatsApp, etc., are a huge problem these days, and especially the problem is that
right, Prateek,
they are.
Right, Prateek, we're just going to come back to you, fix your line a bit there. But Shivam, let me take that to you. Yeah. What do you feel about the fact the debate in the mainstream media, particularly right now, everybody's extremely angry with that crackdown that was announced day before yesterday by the INB ministry, then taken back by the Prime Minister. There are arguments in favor of the fact that the mainstream media also needs to be regulated because of the fact that there is a leaning on either side. But it's the big worry is the social media platforms that are going completely unchecked at many points.
Definitely, social media is a big worry, but we need to differentiate between two things. There is a fake news which has been propagated knowingly that it is fake, and then there are just false news stories that the mainstream media and other people were not able to verify. There have been several instances where NDTV itself has had to issue apologies on notes. Shekhar Gupta ji just tweeted out something, a very senior journalist. He tweeted out that the INB ministry is planning to issue RFID tags to accredited journalists to track where they go. And the PIB Director General had to clarify that it's actually a fake story that he tweeted out.
Yeah, but what about a lot of politicians who are going on and retweeting unverified information, not from NDTV and other sources, but just people that they follow, and it's exactly. We don't even get apologies from politicians very often. So
exactly. So
at least we
fake news
follow
is
the
definitely
protocol of apologies there.
Fake news is definitely a very major issue, and it's destructive to society. So everyone needs to come together to see how this issue can be tackled, and legislation might not be the best way to do it, because most of the fake news peddling websites are actually not accredited. You can't cancel an accreditation to someone who's not an accredited journalist.
Yeah.
What you can do probably is talk to Facebook, talk to WhatsApp, and have systems in place where the user themselves can tag something as fake news. Right now on a platform like Facebook or WhatsApp, you can't report fake news. What you can say is the content is offensive, or it's going to cause religious disharmony, or it's violent or graphic in nature. But you can't tag it as fake news.
Right. Prateek Sinha, the other argument, I know you were making this argument, was about propaganda versus counter-propaganda even on mainstream media, where, for example, a particular politician's rally wouldn't have done really well, but the images are spinned in such a way that to show that there were crowds. It could be any news channel, any news media. So that's a concern that you were touching upon as well, the fact that how to differentiate fact from fiction even on mainstream platforms.
Yeah, so rally, etc. Yes, there are channels with a biased view, but I was not going into that really. Yes, but I was going more into the misinformation, the breaking news cycle, that a lot of misinformation is passed on during the breaking news cycle, and that is the time when viewers have to sort of look at different views. We saw that even during election times, when different channels are reporting numbers which they completely switch over after a while. So this breaking news cycle is a big problem, and there are many media organizations outside India now which are which want to move to a slow news cycle, where especially during times of riots or some sort of a calamity, where you don't want to break news as soon as it happens, but verify facts before breaking it.
Right, you're absolutely right. Actually, we're working in a different cycle completely. We go to breaking news the moment something happens, even in situations where we need to control. Now, Prateek and Shivam, we have the first caller calling in, NG Kapoor. Mr. Kapoor, go ahead with your question.
question is, it also has an answer in it. We do get fake news quite a lot. Apart from social media, we also get it from the media, from the television. And I think media has to act very responsibly, it being the fourth pillar of democracy, to cater for the fundamental rights to, and media must ensure to do a double check before transmitting it on the air.
Right, absolutely. Got your point there. Prateek and Shivam, you want to take that also, touching upon the fact that a lot of breaking news in our, in Indian televisions or otherwise happens because the social media is churning information so quickly that now we're trying to keep, speed with that. So that's also an inbuilt problem of this breaking news situation or fact checking that doesn't always happen. Prateek and Shivam, then to you.
So I'd like to step into this
go
one.
Ahead.
Basically, if any legislation is passed that restricts the freedom of the media, people are going to speak up against it. They're going to see it as an attack on the media. So obviously legislating and punishing the media for peddling fake news or presenting stories which turn out to be false is not the right way to go. What could be done to make the media accountable is a system where the media has regulation and it has to display on its channel or its newspaper the number of retractions and the number of false stories that it has actually circulated. This count being displayed prominently would probably be something that dissuades the media and ensures that fact checking happens before they publish something.
Right. Prateek, I want to touch upon some of the, data analysis that you yourself have done, and, the Jharkhand rumor that actually on child trafficking that actually led to deaths. Now, this is serious business, right? The fact that a viral video on WhatsApp can then translate into deaths of people is very scary. So, what are the examples or we can pick up from other countries that are actually have a framework for regulation, but it doesn't border on sort of clamping down on any kind of media? Prateek.
Well, any legislation is a problem. For example, Germany has a legislation, I think it's called NDTV, where they have a fine. Different social media platforms, once they are informed that certain piece of information is not true, if they do not bring it down within a prescribed amount of time, they are fined. But I don't think that kind of legislation can work in India. I think what we need more is self-regulation on part of both social media platforms as well as mainstream media. Social media platforms need to work with fact checkers or have the fact checkers of their own, where they look at information which is especially insidious and make sure that it is brought down. Things like just now, I'll give you an example. These two pictures which are going on social media claiming that these two protesters, one from Bhim Sena and one Karni Sena and one probably a protester in a Dalit rally which happened, and they are same. Now it could be same or it could not be same, but what happened was that a parody handle claimed that the name of this person is Abdul Jamal Khan, and now this is completely viral on social media, whereas there's no evidence that the name of the person is Abdul Jamal Khan, and this is happening right now as we speak. We are writing a story on All News about this. So that is the kind of misinformation that Facebook needs to bring down, because it is targeting a certain community, and there is a conscious attempt to target a certain community in India via fake news.